It's the Halloween season, and while Yu-Gi-Oh! In general is a pretty spooky themed game, there's no type in the game that's spookier than the zombie type. Fiends are pretty spooky too, but more in a terrifying the pastors and suburban moms kind of way. Zombies have the edge in the spookiness contest with all their rotting flesh and their graveyard-focused strategies. Plus, they have the vampires, since in Japanese the typing is called undead instead of zombie, so I have to side with them by default. In the spirit of the season, and I do mean spirit, I'm going to tell you my mellow top 10 favorite zombie monsters while you take a nap or get some work done or something. Honorable mention: Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. This is probably my favorite of the Ghost Girl hand traps. More than Ghost Mourner, more than Ghost Ogre, more than Ghost Sister, and certainly more than Ash Blossom. This has nothing to do with her playability, although she is a decent card that has had a big impact on the recent hand trap focused meta. What I love about her is her vibes. I love her pretty dress, I love her spooky haunted mansion, I love her creepy face that she makes like she loves you and that's why she has to kill you. I also enjoy that she looks forlornly out the window in the alt art, very atmospheric. The reason she's in the honorable mentions though is that her effect really hits zombie decks pretty hard, and I feel like that has to bring her down in the rankings on the zombie list. It just makes sense. Number 10. Sea Monster of Theseus. The most important fusion monster of 2017 was a huge flop in terms of gameplay, but I love the theming of the card itself. For those who don't know, this card is a reference to a thought experiment from ancient Greece called the Ship of Theseus. The titular Theseus was a mythical king of Athens who saved the children of Athens from King Minos and the Minotaur and escaped on a ship to Delos. You know, the string and the labyrinth and all that? To commemorate this event, every year Athenians would take a pilgrimage to Delos on that very ship that Theseus escaped on. After several hundred years, there have been a lot of maintenance on the ship to keep it seaworthy. So herein the question arises. After all of that maintenance, if every piece on the ship is replaced one by one, is the ship still the same ship that Theseus used to escape Minos? Now, putting aside the question of Theseus as a real versus mythological figure, this is an interesting philosophical discussion preserved by Plutarch and expanded by Thomas Hobbes. And in 2017, Konami added their own expansion to the Ship of Theseus. What if you replaced the missing parts of the ship with a sea monster? And the answer is you get a vanilla tuner fusion monster, apparently. It's only number 10 on the list though, because it's kinda a terrible card, designed specifically to be a tuner you can summon off of instant fusion, which nobody wanted to do. Number 9. Eldritch the Mad Golden Lord. I feel like if I chose normal Eldritch, people would be upset, but I think the fusion Eldritch is so much cooler. I usually try to force this guy into whatever Eldritch deck I end up making because his art just goes so crazy. His wide open mouth ready to swallow the world with his power is perfect. He's got a Towers effect on him, which always makes a boss monster feel imposing. He's also got a brainwashing effect that feels like an appropriate way to show the golden corruption of the Eldlixir that the Mad Golden Lord wields. I also just like this guy's massive attack stat. You'll find that to be a pattern here. This guy might not be particularly good in an actual Eldritch deck, but he certainly makes up for it in vibes. Number 8. Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. Speaking of boss monsters with peak aesthetic, Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Lord is one of the latest in a line of alternate timeline Red-Eye zombies. It's like if Bones had gotten the Red Eyes from Joey during their graveyard duel somehow. Released as the counterpart to Red-Eye's Darkness Dragon in the first two non-character themed structure decks, the original Red-Eye Zombie Dragon already has the advantage of being based on the very cool Red-Eye's Black Dragon, and then gets a boost by being creepy and zombified. Then that original has gotten 2 upgrades with Red-Eye Zombie Necro Dragon and the biggest boss Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. Each one is cooler than the last, especially with those golden highlights. I love the ghostly blue flame all over the place. Gotta be one of my favorite genders. It's weird that there's still Red-Eyes cards, but that deck is so confused anyways, so who cares? Number 7. Shiranui Sun Saga. I don't know how many of you played Duel Links back when Shiranui was the best thing you could be playing, but this guy was always the coolest thing to get out on the field after your Synchro Ladder combo. That beautiful ghostly horse hits the field like an F-150 to pop the board, and then the 3,500 attack nearly kills the opponent all on its own. Again, I really like the big attack monsters. The Shiranuis in general have a cool aesthetic and lore. A ghostly samurai helping an alive samurai take on the Mayakashi with a bit of a Romeo and Juliet style twist. Also, it's Yuri. I love Yuri. Sun Saga is a really cool boss monster to cap off the deck that is unfortunately the worst of the two. Someday they'll make Shiranui playable, maybe after they make Mayakashi meta relevant. I've tried to make this deck work in Master Duel, but man, it's just not very good outside of exactly Duel Links, and even then it's been pretty power crept finally. Number 6. White Baking. White Baking is one of the funniest Yu-Gi-Oh cards ever made. This Skull Servant just wants to cook. In general, the Skull Servant archetype is pretty well beloved by the player base, and for good reason. Guys with huge attack stats are always funny, and few get as high as the King of the Skull Servants. But to impress me, you're gonna need to do a little more than that. I mean, not much more, but a little more. Adding in a jokey card where the king is baking yams is an incredible way to give this deck legacy support. This support is kind of crazy too. White baking is like the best card in the entire deck. Shame you have to play the rest of them to make it worth playing. He gets 2 searches and he also replaces destruction? Crazy. I gotta ask though, how do those yams taste? Do you think white baking is good at baking? Are those yams tasty? I'm not a huge yam or sweet potato person, so I don't know. Like, I like them fine in a pie or something like that, but just on its own like that? I don't know. I could have tried these while I was in Japan. I just didn't, because I don't know. I wasn't sure if they'd be good. Let me know what you think about white baking's cooking prowess down below. Number 5. Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts. We return again to that Duelist Kingdom arc duel between Bones and Joey in the graveyard. Pumpkin is Bones' ultimate boss monster that for some reason in the card game got tied together with Panic's boss monster, the Castle of Dark Illusion. I don't even know why, since Pumpkin wasn't particularly good before being tied to that dud of a monster thanks to being a tribute monster. He is good at being a spooky boy though, and that's why I put him here. I think this guy is due for a modern retrain deck like a lot of other DM decks have gotten. Blue Eyes gets 2 structure decks, but Pumpkin gets 1 card total. Speaking of that 1 card, I want to take this time here to also talk about Pump Princess, the very funny retrain to Pumpkin. This girl is a much better card than Pumpkin, although still not that great. It's just really cute to know that Pumpkin has a daughter. We love to see it. Number 4. Ghost Trick Alucard. Of course there was going to be a Ghost Trick on this list. Did you expect anything less? You should just be happy I only put 1 on here. I could have added more. I chose Alucard specifically for a couple of reasons. Firstly, unlike most of the rest of the Ghost Tricks, Alucard is actually a pretty decent card that has seen meta played before. It used to be one of the few decent rank 3s you can make, and then it became a way for 3-axis to make Utopic Draco Future with just 2 level 3 monsters. That's pretty cool, right? The other reason is that he's a vampire. We love vampires in this house. I do wonder why he's Alucard instead of Dracula. Is it because of Castlevania? Like, there's no Ghost Trick Dracula, there's just an Alucard, and Yu-Gi-Oh has other Castlevania references like Vampire Hunter. Anyways, as I said before, the Ghost Tricks are a perfect spoopy representation of the Halloween season, and I love them for that. Maybe someday they'll make the deck playable and I can finally rest. Number 3. Vampire Sucker. Okay, you also probably expected I would add a vampire card, and I hate to admit to you that I actually added 2. So one of the top 2 zombies is also a vampire. But come on, vampires are so cool, and Vampire Sucker is so pretty. Her effect is decent too. Summon a monster to the opponent's field as a zombie, which triggers her draw effect, and can also allow you to make plays in the vampire deck with her tribute replacement effect. But is also just a good way to clear cards and link climb in the Eldritch deck. She's got a funky little hat and funky little shoes to go with it, and she's saying hi to a cute little bat guy while checking out her fangs. I also really like the design of her wings. Angel wings with dark spikes coming out of them is such an interesting way to do vampire wings. Although she clearly doesn't need them since she's just hovering in the air like that. They're there for style, because that's what Vampire Sucker is all about, and we love her for it. Number 2. Live Twin lil-la Treat. Speaking of style, the Live Twins are oozing style. That's right, when lil-la puts on her Halloween costume, she actually becomes a zombie monster, and an adorable one at that. Did you notice that her shark plushie is also in costume? He's got an orange belly, little rib design sticking out into that belly, and crossed out eyes like he's dead. Lil-la has her mummy tights and a cute Halloween hoodie that I need. She's also got a little jack-o'-lantern bucket for trick-or-treating. I love it. The best part of this is it really isn't an optional part of the deck. You basically need to be playing 1 copy of lil-la Treat because she's an important extender for the deck in case you run into negation, an extremely common thing these days. Her other effect to lower the opponent's attack when they try and do battle damage isn't super important, but it is flavorful. She's just too spooky. She jumps out and scares you. Boo! Oh, sorry, you're trying to sleep or something. I'll try to rein it in, but the spooky energy is just getting to me. Let's just move on to our final entry, my favorite zombie monster. Number 1, Vampire Fraulein. Vampire Fraulein is the blueprint. I adore this card so much. She's the prettiest vampire in the whole deck by far, and her fit is perfect. That pretty gothic dress with a luxurious red on the inside is peak vampire clothing. Then you get the parasol, essential vampire fashion, and it has fucking fangs on it. It's incredible. I really like the use of shadows on her as well, where you can see the long shadow of the parasol against the stairs in the background. She's also kind of a nutty card in zombie decks. Like, battle phase stuff usually doesn't matter all that much, but Fraulein summoning herself when attack is declared and giving you up to 3,000 attack if you have the life points to pay is enough of a balance shift that it can be playable even in modern day, and will absolutely tear up limited formats. She also gets to turn any monster she kills, which seems impossible with her 600 attack, but then you remember she can get up to 3,600 as long as you pay out the difference. It's such a cool card in general with an incredible art on top of it. I love her so much. The only way the vampire deck could get any better is if I got made into a card to support the deck. Come on, please, Konami. You know you want to, please. On the very day that I'm recording this, we also got the announcement of a new Halloween-themed archetype, Hallow and Ween, who are the Lord of Tricks and the Lord of Treats specifically. And Ween is a zombie, and he would have been on this list if I had written this list after he came out. But just put him in here somewhere. I don't know. He's pretty good. I just wish the cards were good. If the cards were good, it would probably be pretty high up. He might be like maybe number 4-ish or something like that. Do with that information what you will. So there you have it, my top 10 favorite zombie monsters, give or take a few. What do you think of all these choices? What would you include in your top 10? Let me know down below, rest well, and I'll see ya in the next one. Good night. Hey there, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a lot more for you if you want them. Just hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications. I'd also appreciate if you left me a like and a comment and maybe shared the video around with your friends. You can also follow me on all the usual social media sites. Just check out my website in the description below for more info. My videos are funded by my patrons and YouTube members, whose names you'll see scrolling by in these credits here. For just $1 a month, you too can find yourself here, trapped in my end screen for all eternity. In particular, I'd like to thank Haru Hayes, Fleakill, Frog Prince Michael, and Jeremiah Coatney. A big thanks to all my other patrons and to my little community as a whole. Remember to be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and have a wonderful whatever time it is for you. Bye. Sleep well.